Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to install a standard backup camera in a Toyota Celica. As you can see, the package came with this piece. It's just the standard camera. Works with a lot of aftermarket radios as long as yours has the power input as well as the video. I guess that would be output, technically input into the radio. And it comes with this power cable, which powers the little camera. And that has the leads on this end. And as well as you have the video line where one side goes into the back of the radio, has this extra cord, and then it has the other side that goes into the back of the camera, and then it also has a power cord as well. Let's go ahead and install that. And the reason I'm doing this right now is because, as you can see, I already have the trim pieces out going all the way to the rear because I just installed a sound system and an amp for the stereo speakers. So now is a good time to run this cable from the front to the radio all the way to the back of the car to the backup camera. Then just to take a closer look, as you can see, I removed this whole trim piece. We're running cables back here. If we come all the way to the rear, had to remove this rear quarter panel interior piece, and I feed the cords behind the seat, and then we'll figure out where we're going to install the backup camera. Okay, so for this part, we're going to take our main spool of cable, obviously take one end. We're going to leave plenty of slack up front so we're able to plug it into the radio, not too much tension on the wire, you don't want it to break. We're going to slowly feed this to the rear of the vehicle. So to do that, I'm just going to take this end, put it kind of up into the dash, leave a bunch of slack like I said, and I'll route it through the car. Then we're going to feed it back here, make sure I'm going to tuck it behind all these wires, behind the seat belt, behind this, I think this is the trunk latch cable right here. Obviously you're not going to leave the cords like that. Could run them under the floor mat, but with you getting in and out of the vehicle, that could cause wear on the cables. So what I went and did is I punched a hole up under here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a zip tie right here and then put the cables up under here and run them along the upper dash lip. And once that's said and done, as you can see, they're pinned up in here. And so we have two separate braids. You might want to do a couple more zip ties, run them up into here, into the radio, as well as right here. But once we put this side piece on, these will all tuck up in this way. That way you'll have a clear space to use the clutch. As I was saying, to get the cords to tuck up into here, we're going to use this piece. Go ahead and install it. Obviously tuck the cables up and in here. We're going to put that back in place, as well as this bottom strip right here. As well as go ahead and fasten the bolt that goes on just right there. Okay, then as you can see, we put this piece back on. All you do is just lay it flat down, just kind of hammer on it with your fist, and all the pins will pop into place. And make sure your cables are tucked underneath there well. Now we just got to deal with the end back. So to access the tail light, we're going to open up this panel, just pull on it gently, and this whole piece will pop off. Now with that open, we have access to the tail light. So there's going to be three bulbs. There is the bottom blinker light, there's the middle reverse white light, and then there's the top red brake light, I believe. So it's actually going to be the middle, so it's not this one, but it's kind of nestled in here. And all you do is grab it, twist it 90 degrees counterclockwise, and it should pull out just like that. Then to verify you do have the reverse light, you want to put the car in reverse. You don't want to be behind, obviously. Keep the clutch engaged so you don't launch backwards. And have a friend just stand to the side and make sure that this bulb glows white when you put it in the reverse gear. Okay, next you'll see there's this master wire connected to a clip. Then from here it branches out to the three different brake lights. So we're actually going to be tying into the wires here. So that way if there is any electrical issues in the future or anything like that, it won't be part of the master wiring, and we can always just buy a new clip and restart the wiring to the brake light. What I have here is some 16 to 14 gauge T-taps. Basically it's literally a capital T shape, so you're going to have your main wire running through, and it makes it so we can tap into the existing power without messing with the electrical. So the way this works, you would slide your existing wire this way through here, and then you would go ahead and close down on it until you hear the click. Then from there you would take the other end, put our wire through here, and you can plug it in to the existing power. So we're going to need a total of 4 T-taps. Alright, so coming back here, we have our video wire, and there's also this red wire attached. What this does is we're going to attach it to the positive terminal for the brake light, so that way when it is engaged, it's going to send a signal to the radio that says, hey, turn on the backup camera. So with that being said, let's grab our backup camera. If we follow the leads, there's the video outline, and then there's the power adapter. So let's go ahead and connect the video line. Let's connect the power first. So with this wire, we're going to T-tap into the positive terminal of the brake light. Let's go ahead and remove some of the material so we can attach the T-tap. Now we have the wire exposed so we can tie it in. Then let's go ahead and crimp it down. Alright, with that crimped down on there tight, give it a little tug to make sure it's in place. Let's go ahead and install the other side of the T adapter to the positive reverse light. So this green and blue one, that's going to be the positive, and this black and white zebra one, that's going to be the negative. Go ahead and line the metal up, rest in between the two, and close the trap door, and take our pliers. We can go ahead and plug in our reverse camera feed line. Then having a look at the camera, we're going to need to supply a positive, negative voltage to power the camera itself. So it came with this adapter. It's going to plug into this red end right here. Then on these two ends we have red for positive and black for negative. We're going to tie into the two power lines for the reverse light. With those two lines stripped and braided, let's go ahead and add the T-tap connectors. So what I've done here is I've wired up the positive and the negative. Then let's go ahead and add another T-tap, one for the negative and one for the positive. So as you can see here on the positive, we have two, one for the signal to the stereo, and one to power the camera, and then the negative for the camera. Theoretically, these two could be combined into one point, so just take that into account. Alright, and what I've done here is I've connected all the T-taps together, and when working with this bulb, try not to touch it as much as possible because the oil from your hands creates hot spots in bulbs and decreases the life of them. Then taking a look at the back of your radio, it's going to be one of the yellow ports. As you can see here, it says cam in, so that stands for backup camera input. It's just a AV input. So let's go ahead and take our other end that we fed through the car and plug it into there. And if you're unsure, if you check the bottom of the stereo or your user manual, it'll have all the different slots and what they mean and what they do. And then on the other end, we're going to have our camera, and you're going to see there's going to be the power wire attached to it. So what this does is it sends the power from the brake light to the stereo, which tells it to turn on the backup camera screen. So as I mentioned, read your manual or check the bottom of the stereo, and you'll see here the A2, it says back in. So sometimes your adapter would have a lead that you'll need to connect to this. Mine didn't, so I'm going to have to go just straight into A2 and solder it in there. So now you'll see that line coming off the AV out. Come over here, and as you can see, I plugged it into there. So the way to test it is plug your stereo back in. I'm assuming you have a wiring harness, so that way the stereo has power. Put your key into ACC position. Don't start the car. 2, and then let's give it a minute to boot up. Throw your car into reverse if it's not already. So that's reverse. Bottom right for me, it's 5-speed. And as you can see, it's very hard to see on camera, but the backup camera is on. And you also see in the rear view that the LED is still on from the reverse light itself. So now we're going to go ahead and put the reverse light back in, kind of package up the wires, and then put everything back together. And then if you remember for earlier how we fed the wires under here, you feed it back under through here, and then you pull it out from here, so that way your video line is going into the dash and it's not by your feet. So I fed it up into here, and it's easily accessible if you just reach in there. Then make sure to plug in all your speakers, your two adapters, the backup camera itself, and then if you listen to the radio, plug that in as well. So just a quick demonstration, you're driving down the road, listen to the radio, it should be on that screen. Then when you put it into reverse, as you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but the backup camera comes on. And don't forget to plug your reverse light back in. All you do is take it, put it in the hole, and twist it clockwise 90 degrees, and it'll lock back into place. So now I've removed the 10mm bolt from there, and then there was a little pin in here as well. Repeat on the other side. Right here, right there. And we can fold this up and remove this whole trim piece. Next, grab this seal and just gently lift up on it. Just enough to slide the camera through. So what we want to do is feed the camera under and through here. We want to have room for the wire. You don't want the wire smashed between here and the trunk, or it's going to wear it out over time. So now I'm going to drill a hole. So as you can see, I drill a hole through here, so that way we can go ahead and slide the camera through there. You're going to want to sand it down so it's smooth and not sharp, as well as if you have a rubber grommet, put it there to prevent moisture and from the metal cutting into the backup camera wire. So what I've done temporarily is I just fed it through. I put a little shop towel around it just so it doesn't cut the edges. Then you can go ahead and just line this piece back up and then smash it back in place. Make sure your trunk still closes. Next, the way I'm doing it is I'm actually gonna have the backup camera just snug right up against here. So I'm actually gonna kind of cut out a square shape from the upper part of the bumper and then just let the camera rest there. Alright, then as you can see here, I used a Sawzall. Should have used a Dremel. I don't have one though, so it's kind of bad. Oh, honestly, it's really bad. But what I did is I cut out a square shape, then just slid the camera into place. I am going to touch it up with some paint and then sand the edges, as well as take a Dremel to it to try to clean it up. And then you're going to want to insert your grommet right there. Then you can put this inlay back over. And as you can see, I've plugged in the power and the yellow cable. What I did is I routed it through here, and we're going to run it across this top lip. So those are plugged in, so we can tuck that away now. Once you have this piece semi in place, there's 4 pins across the bottom, you'll notice. So just put it in place and hit all 4 of them down. So to put this in, all you do is retract this. Once it's in the hole, you push this into place and it expands these. So that's what it looks like when the trunk is closed. And that's what it looks like when the trunk is open. Definitely the worst way to install your backup camera. I wanted to install it in the hatch, but I didn't want to have to run the wires all the way up. You would have to tie into the brake light, run wire up through the frame. You'd have to cut into this boot, I think, and run them through this, whatever pillar you want to call it. You'd have to undo this piece. You'd have to remove the whole actuator assembly from here. You'd have to pop this lip off. You'd have to drill a hole. And it would have been a huge process. And I really don't care about this car that much anymore. I might just strip the interior, turn it into a rally car. Not really sure, but thanks for watching. Hope this helped.